Hello everyone, we are from Group 5. We consist of Suji Rahmawati, Adi Saputro, Farah Sophia, Eka Puspitasari, Wulandari Saputri, and Amelia Anugerah. We would like to explain about language learning and language choice. So let's get started.
Okay guys, my name is Wulandari Saputri, and now I want to introduce what is the language choice and language learning. This chapter considers issues around the use of the foreign and first language in the classroom. It looks at evidence from real classroom and how we might interpret what has been found. In many situations, teachers are required to use only the foreign language in their language lessons, or they feel that they ought to. In practice, research and anecdotal evidence suggests that most teachers who share their pupils' mother tongue use a mixture of the foreign language and the mother tongue. We will examine this evidence in some detail to look for patterns in the types of activities that each language is used for, and to see how teachers and pupils switch between language in the course of activities. When we have a clear picture of patterns of language choice, we can then develop the principle of deliberate language choice, in which choice is guided by the overarching goal of fostering the children's foreign language learning. This enables us to move away from the simple but impractical guideline. Use only the target language to more subtle and helpful principles for language choice. Use as much of the target language as possible, and ensure that use of first language supports the children's language learning. The rest of the chapter will be devoted to exploring how those principles translate into action. Choosing to the more of the foreign language may mean that extra works is required to support children's understanding. If pupils are required to use the foreign language, then we know that this makes a great demand on them than just understanding, and that again appropriate support will be needed. So, the conclusion: language choice is when the speaker chooses what language to use in particular situation in bilingual or multilingual communities. And language learning is the teaching about a language, its use, its speaker, its structure, with the hope that the students will learn enough to actually able to speak the target language.
Okay, my name is Suji Rahmawati, and I would like to continue with the explanation about the dynamic language choice and use.
Dynamics of language choice and use. A dynamic view considers movement between language in classroom interaction rather than just which language is used. To see the dynamic of language choice, we have to look at quite a fine level of detail within a cross turns of talk. At this scale, we will see how teachers talk and respond to pupils, and vice versa, how pupils talk and respond to teachers. In this talk, both teacher and pupils make choices about which language to use. They may also change or switch language during their talk. Switches and choices made at this micro level below the pattern that we observe at the larger scale of the lessons and school practice. In these sections, examples from classroom talk are used to describe movement between language and to discuss why they might occur and what they might blow up for a longer time scale. The classroom data used to illustrate language switching patterns that occur in a foreign language classroom. Dynamic 1. Helping pupils understand by translating. The first extracts show a switching patterns used by the teacher throughout the lesson. He moved from the foreign language to the first language when he gave instruction to the pupils. He would first give instruction in English, the target language, and then repeat all of part of the instruction in the shared first language. Okay, for example, now group 1, say a word that you do not understand. Okay, grup pertama, katakan apa yang kamu tak paham. A word that you do not understand. Another example. Now, when I point to the word and I want you to put up your hand and say the word, okay? Sebut perkataannya, say the word. These instructions in English are clear and accurate. The teachers seem to feel that pupils need more help to understand the instruction. This will be a consistent use of Bahasa Indonesia, which occur in giving instructions and also sometimes in asking relevant questions. Dynamic 2. Keeping to the same language. In the next extract, there is more complicated movement between first and foreign language as the teachers and pupils talk about strategy for finding the meaning of new words. For example, baik, apa yang harus kita lakukan untuk mencari makna perkataan? What must we do to find the meaning of words? Cari dalam kamus. Find in the dictionary. Good. Cari dalam kamus. Find in the dictionary. You must use the dictionary. Now take out your dictionaries and try to find the word communities. Cepat cari. Cepat cari. Be fine. The teacher's first question in the first language is answered by pupil in the first language. Line 3, and this response is received with an English word. Good. Line 4. And then the pupil's first language phrase is repeated by the teacher. Line 5. It is then repeated in English in line 6. The next instruction, line 7, is then given by the teacher in English with the first language emphasis in the last line. The next is dynamic 3, giving meaning to a first language equivalent. In the final extract, we see how the concept of vocabulary learning as a learning first language equivalent of new words provide an underlying dynamic to the lesson. Something of the teacher's view of what it means to learn new words can be input of the process of the lesson. The pupils are first asked to underline new words into text, then they say the words to the teacher who writes them on the board. The whole class then practice pronouncing the words before any work is done on the word meanings. The pupils then turn to their dictionaries to find out the meanings. These are bilingual dictionaries. They give first language translation of the words. The extras show out alone one of the new words and its meaning. For example, teacher, what is community in the dictionary? Apa maksudnya? What is the meaning? Pupils, community, masyarakat, community. Yeah, hidup perkumpulan. Yes, living in a group. Now, what is colonies?
My name is Amelia and I will explain about the next material. On the next material, I will discuss about jokes within use first language or foreign language, about language choice in learning. The teacher might be confused on measuring the use of first language or foreign language. So, the foreign language feel even more unnatural. But this does not mean that the foreign language cannot be used as the main communicating language. It just means that it needs to be done consciously. That's all from me. I hope you understood everything that I said. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay, I'll continue to explain in the section when the first language is used by teacher. Number 1. For giving instruction. To provide instruction, the teacher only needs to use the first language and doesn't need to use a foreign or second language. This is because using the first language will make it easier for students to understand what the teacher is saying. Okay guys, I'll continue to explain in the section when the first language is used by students. The first one, for asking for help. In following the learning process, students will use the first language to ask for help. This is because the first language is their daily language, so they will spontaneously use that language. The next one. Number 2. For responding to a question. Just like asking for help, also using the first language in responding to a question. This is because responding to questions is not something that requires the second or foreign language. Okay, I'll continue to the next material is about interpersonal factors in language choice. The first one, there is alignment, which is the first language can make it easier to accept learning process and understand students' language learning problems, while foreign language can make teachers appear more competent. The next one, emphasis. In the use of first language, it's usually used to emphasize a serious problem, while foreign language is used to reduce emphasis or used for problems that are not serious. The last one, evaluation. The choice of language used for teaching also affect attitudes and values in foreign language learning. The teacher uses foreign language only for a subject of study, rather than the mean of communication.
Research show that the teacher used the target language as the most common language in their teaching, although the first language was also used. The second is ensure that the use of first language support the children's language learning. The teacher may concrete strategies can use to support children's language development in both English and their home language. Of course, it's ideal when teachers speak the children's language, but in super diverse classrooms, that's unlikely to be the case. Teachers who use the first language strategies especially useful for supporting the learning and development of children in classrooms with a range of language. Okay, next I will explain about ways that can carry out classroom activities. The first is explaining new language. For explaining new language to young learners, teacher may use picture, video, excerpt, or gesture at once past the initial stage. Next is checking understanding. talk about learning. Talk about learning would seem to be a clear example of where use of the first language might actively support the foreign's learning.
Hello guys, my name is Farah Khansa and I will continue Eka's presentation. So here are the ways that can carry out classroom activities. Number 1. Explaining your language. Many language items that children will meet can be understood through pictures, video, action, and gestures. Hence, once past the initial stage, new items can be explained through previously learned language. Number 2. Checking understanding. Too often, children come back after an activity has started and ask what they were to do. Pupils can be asked to explain what they have just heard to a partner to cross-check their understanding. Number 3. Giving instruction. It may be justified to give beginner's instructions in the first language with a parallel foreign language version that is simple and repeated in the same form each time the game is played, so that it becomes familiar and gradually understood. Number 4. Talk about learning. First language might well be superlatively used in discussing how children like to learn, good study habits, and why a foreign language should be used as much as possible. Number 5. Talk about language. Children can enjoy making comparisons between first and foreign language, pointing out words that are similar or very different. Number 6. Giving feedback. Tone of voice and expression convey the teacher's evidence, and so foreign language feedback can be effective. Number 7. Discipline. When the teacher and pupils use foreign language, they are in some sense out of character. When discipline is called for, it is as if teacher and pupil have to live the written format. Number 8. Informal talk. Use of first language frequently not as occurring between teacher and pupils when they were talking informally at the end of lessons or off record. Okay, the last one is summary. In conclusion, whatever language is used, it should be deliberately chosen to maximize language learning opportunities. Well, that's our presentation for today. We fully realize that it's not flawless. There's probably a lot of questions arise. So if you guys have some questions, we can discuss after watching this video. Thank you all for